director of AK. Here with us we have Stefan. Basically, those of you who are familiar with his name, Stefan, you most probably have witnessed his works for sure. So basically, Stefan has worked on various large projects, including Game of Thrones, Narnia, Hellboy, Agora. So he's quite a profiled artist as well. The golden ratio. Steph.
Thank you, Andrew, for introduction. Guys, I would like to ask you straight away, I don't know if you see the presentation, because what I'm seeing here is just my window, my face, whatever you're writing, we can see clearly. Just one question, can you see part of the PowerPoint presentation on your screen or no? If somebody can answer me this, what you should see is text with golden proportion and spiral on the screen. I don't know if you can guys see this. Yes.
Yes. All right. Cool.
So I will go very quickly, since we don't have a lot of time. I will go very quickly through that presentation and try to introduce the golden proportion, and basically to explain you why we are doing the course, why we are doing the seminar on that subject. First of all, as a professional artist, and I become as well teacher and lecturer in MCAST and lecturing as well in my country, back in Slovakia. I realized that there is very little knowledge about the golden proportion. I studied art since when I was 6 years old till 27 academically, and then obviously I was just working in art industry and film industry and different sector. And all my friends basically on Facebook, if you see me on Facebook, all my friends on the Facebook will be artists. So I was all my life with the artists, and there are not so many who are aware of the golden proportion. There is one thing about the golden proportion, it's very logical, which we don't really like as artists. We like to be free, we like to work with our intuition and with our heart. But studying golden proportion, I discovered that the golden proportion is inside of your heart. So let me go straight away to the presentation. For example, I don't know how many of you understand what means proportion. Proportion basically is when you have a small object and a big object, and how many times you can basically take small part of measurement and how many times you can find this small part of the measurement inside of the big part of the measurement. So, for example, many of you, if you are familiar with the proportion of human body, we know that head is 7.5 times in human body. This is basically proportion. This is the concept of proportion, that you see small part, how many times the small part is inside the big one. Now here what you see in front of you on the left side picture, you have orange and green line, which is divided by a ratio of 1.6. What that means is that any line or any measurement, you can divide it in this proportion. Now, we find out through the history of art that if you divide any picture, if it will be even video, if it will be composition, or if it will be statue, whatever it is, even calligraphy, if you divide certain elements in your artwork with that section, most of the people will like this section of this picture. On the bottom part on the left side, you can see the countryside, and there are like 3 wrong countryside and 1 tick that is correct. Now what that means is that if you are choosing as a photographer picture, you intuitively choose the pictures which will have golden cut or golden meaning inside. This is the same with the big companies which they produce logo. On the right side you can see Twitter. The big company, they are not going up there with them logos or them product if there isn't golden proportion in it, because they will not sell it. So the very important point here is to understand that if you are taking your art as an artist, more likely you need to come across to that study. If you will not study this subject, your art will be forgotten completely. And you can try to be best as much you can. If you don't have it, I'm sorry to say, your art will be X. It will not be thick, correct.
We've been discussing in a lot of coffee shops the past month or 3 months, the past few months, and you've mentioned the ones that if we had to analyze all of the major successful artists throughout the whole history of time, starting from the
ancient civilization,
Egyptians, the Asians, we will find this golden ratio. How is this possible?
Okay.
And why is this? What is the significance of all this?
So
to art, to design, I mean.
So first of all, why we find the golden ratio from the history? We find it because we do exactly the same concept like it is on the presentation with the countryside. We just remove the ones which they don't have it. What that means is that from the past we can only have and preserve the artwork with the golden ratio.
Right.
There is nothing else, literally nothing else, because everything which we don't like with our art or with our aestheticism. For example, I don't like Cubism, but I know what is good Cubism and what is wrong Cubism. And many of us can say it. We don't need to really necessarily understand Cubism, but we have feelings and we understand that this painting is good and this is wrong. So we making selection through time, and we just not taking care of stuff which doesn't have golden proportion in it. And so we ending up with the history full of golden proportion. It's not a mystery, it's just fact that we are choosing something which has the golden proportion. If you don't have it, you will be forgotten. As simple as that. So I will as well show you, you have three options in this case. You need to have vision about this, what that means. We are calling each other artists, creator, or philosophers, or weirdos, whatever. People who don't fit really in the society, but we try to fit in by our creation and our creativity. And that's what makes us comfortable with that society. On the other hand, we have academic study to do, okay, as an artist. This is only one thing which we need to take seriously if we want to be an artist and take part in society, even if you are architect or designer, whatever you are doing. So you need to make some kind of study about your subject. It cannot be just, I'm artist, I was born like that because I'm creative. Everybody is creative, that's not the problem. Everybody can do something. But the question is, if you know the craft, what you are presenting, if you know it all, if you don't know it, it's just a play of, of some kind of game it is. So you need to do basically academic study, but academic study, again, is very boring. So many people think that academic study is not really what we need. Now, a lot of people think that we are all artists. My 4-year-old daughter can draw the picture and she's saying, I'm an artist. I'm telling her, yes, you are an artist. But she's not an artist, okay? She is the girl with creativity and with potential to become artist. She's calling herself artist. I will call her artist, but we know that this is not it, okay? I will show you just a few people here on this presentation. This is Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo Rotti, Raffaello Santi, and there is German jewelry maker Wenzel. These people from the past, again, they knew about the golden proportion and they knew it perfectly. They know what's going on. It was, most of the time, you will not see direct information about the golden proportion since it was secret. And it was secret for one simple reason. If you get it, you can sell it, you can survive. It's that simple. So many times this information about the proportion was kept secret for just this simple reason that you really have sort of like competition next to you. Now we are living in the time that I feel that we are free to share all information. Now you can go on internet, search about the golden proportion. What you will do, or most of the people what will do, is that you will go to that subject and you see the math behind this. And you say, that's not for me. But I need to tell you, you need to keep going because this is the academic study of your subject. There are another people from the history, Dürer, Pablo Picasso, Frank Lloyd Wright, which is basically his architect, and there is Philip Stark and Steve Jobs as well. All these people knew what that means. They was working with that in mind.
This is evident in all great design.
Again, only great design will be put up there in the world, and only great design will be chosen.
So it's self-selecting sort of.
It's completely. For example, Jackson Pollock was one of the artists who was using golden proportion in his splashes. Now the point is here, how the Jackson Pollock could possibly do golden proportion just splashing the color on the painting, on canvas. Well, let me tell you very quickly how it's happened. He had canvas on his work, on his atelier, and he splashed all over the paint, and then he take the ladder, or in the second floor he has in his atelier, and he chose the section of the painting. So he was intuitive, and he chose the section which has it. He didn't know about it, but he was choosing the correct picture. Okay. Now, when they analyzed this, all his work, they discovered the proportion between the cold color, how the splash are working. There is golden proportion. So he was directly by his heart choosing the correct composition on that splashes. So there are artists who will do it completely, purely intuitively, but they need to be extremely connected to the art, and it will be chosen, or you can design it and say design it.
Now, I find this as a very interesting perspective, because in art, we mainly consider art and any other type of design to be purely subjective. And this objectivity and this sort of quantification, you're actually sort of quantifying what is good and what is not. You're actually measuring.
Yes.
This offers a totally contrarian perspective, if you may, to how we view, how we experience, and also how to create art. So, I mean, was this always the case? Because if we go back in time, we see that the Egyptians, there wasn't yet the knowledge of what the golden ratio is, what the Fibonacci's were, what fractal geometry meant back then. So, but we still find this evident in the pyramids.
Yes.
So it is a very fun phenomenon where even artists who were not even aware of this quantification, this measure of how to create art, they still came up with glorious pieces which have this ratio. So how can we explain this phenomenon?
Now, like I said, it was secret. So there is one side of it, because it's secret, nobody's talking about it, nobody wants to reveal the truth. Okay. Now, there is another things about this. What you mentioned correctly, that now I'm saying that there is certain measurements which you can say this is wrong, this is not wrong. I don't want to put it this way. There is no something which is wrong and something which is not wrong. There is only something which we like and we dislike. And that's completely different story. So, like I said, Cubism is not something which I would go for, but I know what is good Cubism and what is wrong Cubism. And that's the difference. Okay, so I'm not saying that by finding out the golden proportion, you will become the artist who will say this is wrong, this is not wrong, and this is blah blah. No, you will not do that. This is.
If I'm understanding well, so the subject, the category of art can be subjective.
It's can.
But whether I like it or not, then that's something which
you are connected to it or not. It's that simple. But what I'm talking about is not saying that this art which doesn't have golden proportion is wrong. I'm just saying that the proportion and golden proportion, if your art has it, it just will survive.
Right.
It will survive any era, it will survive any movement, it will survive any ideology. And that's for me, as an artist, is quite important things, because once when you are doing some art, you are taking part with society. You are communicating with the society. It's not just communication with yourself and with your understanding and with your pleasure of being artist, but as well with communication with the present people and as well with the people to come. So your message basically can be historical and can be talking about our time in past. Okay, so it can be message.
Right.
Now, if you are taking your own art as a tool for you to speak to generation to come, this is only one way how you can do it, because otherwise it will not stay for long. So I'm not really saying that people who are not knowing about this, they're doing something wrong. That's not the point. They might do even better. Okay, like I'm saying, you need to be connected with your heart to your art. Your heart on the seminar, for those who will come to the seminar, I'm going to much more detail, and I'm explaining as well how it is in your heart, how your heartbeat is doing this golden proportion. And I can tell you guys, it's literally everywhere. It's in your body, it's in the universe, in the structure of the time, it is in the structure of the space. You can't escape this. It's building blocks of, that's why we call it golden proportion.
Following on from this point that you just mentioned here, here with us today we have, for those who have submitted the survey that I emailed earlier this morning, we've got quite a mix of an audience here. So if my memory is correct, I remember there are a few who come from management, finance, design artists. So it's quite a wide spectrum. What's interesting about this ratio, I found out from my discussions with Stefan, is that the elements of the golden ratio, which is also to a certain extent the Fibonacci numbers, it's used for prediction models for investment in trading. So what is the correlation between design in arts, and on the other hand you have prediction models? You're using the golden rule to predict and to trade.
Yes.
What is the correlation between these two different universes here?
Yes, it sounds really weird. It's the same thing. Our brain is made of two parts, intuitive and logical. Okay, artists are using intuitive, people who deal with their money, they are using more logical. There is no difference between me as an artist and between artists of finance. Okay, these people are creative exactly the same way like I can be creative, and I can be extremely logical as these people can be logical. So what it means is we are created in the one universe with the same concept. How we will take this concept, which direction, is up to us. Now, if you understand this golden proportion and you understand it well, it does not apply only for the art in the sense of what we understand as art pictures, okay, and paintings. It can be even art of cooking, art of finance. It can be whatever can be measured. If I have in the kitchen ingredients and I can measure them, I can do the proportion between them, I will do it. If I have a piano in front of me, I know how many notes are there, and I will divide them, I will do it. Regardless what it is, whatever you can measure, you can apply this concept and it will work. The whole universe is work on this. I don't have here, probably on this presentation, this is about the academic study, what I was mentioned, I have, not in this slide, but in seminar, I'm explaining as well this in detail. How this work in time and space, how this work in our communication, why we have internet, how we can communicate, for example, now we have people listening to us, how this happened. This is happening in time and space.
Tell us a bit more about that particular detail, time and space.
Okay, so whatever you can measure in the nature, whatever it is, you will find the golden proportion in it.
Right.
So, how many birds you can see, flying formation of the birds, okay, I will start like this. Flying formation of the birds, when you see them in the sky, they will always group into proportion of Fibonacci sequence, 2, 3, 5. If you see them and you see that one bird will move to another group, front group will change position to group again to the Fibonacci sequence.
Wow,
now this is unbelievable because the birds are not going to count themselves while they are flying. They need to make so many calculations during the process to fly. Keeping in mind the proportion, it will be a bit crazy. That is telling us only that the fabric of nature is Fibonacci sequence and golden proportion. That simply means it is inside of the fabric, and what is the fabric? It's time and space, as Einstein is saying, okay? So if it is in time, you can take any time of your life, for example, or day, divide it in 1.6, and you will find what happened exactly on that spot during the day. And you will find out that during the day, for example, if it's 24 hours division by 1.6 is around 3 o'clock afternoon, you are having peak. And then after that, you are slowing down. Okay, so this is the maximum.
The biological clock.
This is biological. It is in you. Your bones are divided 1.6. Your heart is beating 1.6. It is in you. It is in the space. It is everywhere. So you can basically take any measurement, divide it, and find out it's there. And something on that point is happening. So it is in time and space. So if it is in time and space, you can measure everything. Then you can literally find out that it is everywhere. Now, the problem is you are not going to learn everything. Okay, it is beyond us to learn everything. What is, from my opinion, and what I discovered necessary to learn, it's yourself. Okay, it's your body. So we are. That's why I put this slide here, connecting or through the media. We are on the Facebook giving each other opinions and we are learning about each other. Okay, but all these are concepts. All these are concepts. This has nothing to do with reality. Even though that we can say that on Facebook, this is real picture, but still it is just concept because we don't see this happening right now. Okay, reality is you and me in this room, so we can connect different way and we discuss things differently than through the internet. I'm not saying that the internet is not good tool, but it is limited. Okay, the space and understanding is limited. It's just concept what we can share. What we really need to do to understand the golden proportion everywhere, we need to really literally study our human body and our proportion. If we will discover what is it in our body, you will start looking at the space and the world differently, completely differently. So even though that in these days the golden proportion is not secret anymore, nobody is doing it because it is very complicated. It's everywhere. I find out it's here. Okay, it's here. You are the one, I am the one. You study your body. How fast you can do it. You study your body, you study the anatomy, and you find out that through that study of anatomy, through the understanding of your own body, and you can be architect, you can be a philosopher, you can be mathematician, you can be whatever you want. Once when you study yourself, you understand it completely, then you will see it. Then all of a sudden something happens, and you will see it. There is no accident that in the past, what you see guys on the slide now, there is on the left side is temple in Egypt, and on the right side is cathedral in France. These are the old concepts where they believed that your body is your temple. This is completely alien to us, and we look at it as a religion, okay, that you need to adore yourself, whatever, it is part of the religion, you need to take care of yourself, or yoga, whatever. It's not really the truth. The truth is that they understood that if you know yourself, you will know the rest. You don't need to learn maths, you don't need to learn music, you don't need to learn, I don't know, about the universe. You need to know yourself. Once you know it, then you start knowing the universe, then you will know how to do the music, then you will know how to do the maths, then you will know how to do the business. It's that simple. And that's why this is connecting your body with the temple. It's not about the religion, it's about the understanding of it. And pictures, like for example, on the seminar, I will explain even more into detail how your body, your physical body is connected to the shape of the planet, to shape of the moon, what is the proportion between moon and planet. And you will find out that it is inside of your body. When scientists are telling you that you are made of dust, they are not lying to you. There is nothing more that you can be made of in all universe. You are dust of the universe. So what it means is that you are connected on a much higher level through the measurement with all these objects. And I will explain in the seminar exactly how you are connected to it. You will understand much clearly that if you start understanding yourself, you will see bigger pictures. Immediately you will see it. It's useless to study everything. You don't have a big head. You know, the head is proportionally just small compared to the body. So then you start understanding why.
This is the Vitruvian man. Now the study done by Leonardo.
Not only there was many another, but one of the familiar for the people is Vitruvian Man of Leonardo da Vinci. What he was trying to find out.
This is all about the golden proportion, right?
Well, yes and no, and I don't think through that Vitruvian Man he was tapping into golden proportion, but obviously if you are using your body again, you are there, you are doing it. You know? What he discovered, or what this Vitruvian Man means, is that there is certain geometry and connection geometry with your body. And this is the link what I'm trying to explain a bit here in this very short time. geometry, mathematics, numbers, your body, these all things are connected. They are extremely perfectly, precisely connected. And if the people in the science region will tell you that your body is and universe is mathematically explained, they are right.
This, I think, links with my previous question of how and why many traders use them in prediction models. Because you've previously mentioned that we cannot study everything.
No, it's impossible.
But the golden ratio is in everything.
It's very simple.
So it can help us deal with our unknowns,
yes.
with what we don't know, which is essentially beautiful.
It is, on the end of the day, it is, when I studied this, I discovered this, and I'm studying this now for a few years, and discovering all the time new things, really. I come to the point that I said, man,